Well, good evening, happy people. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all keeping safe. And you're still in love with the game we hate, FPL. Welcome to that FPL lounge. The doors are now open and you're all welcome to pop in and say hello, whether that's in the text chat here or in beside us live in the Discord. Here we like to see how we all got on in the previous game week, ease your mind of any dilemmas. So if there's any questions, as I've said, pop them in the chat. It's Matt's chat, he'll keep an eye on it, and we'll try and rattle through as many of your dilemmas as we can this evening. All the links to all our social stuff is in the video description. It's also right in front of your face now. So yeah, you want to hook up with us in any other way, you can do. Can't do the show on my own, though. This lounge needs a couple of bouncers. And what a belting couple of bouncers we have here. And Boona and Matt. Evening, folks. How you doing?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, beautiful people.
Okay.
Okay then, yeah, whatever he said. Bloody hell, he's been drinking early, isn't he? How's it going, guys?
Yeah, not too bad, pal, not too bad. I'm looking forward to this one. I look forward to all the podcasts, but yeah, I'm especially looking forward to this one. I think there could be a bit of tension in the room, which will all be revealed just shortly. Matthew, I see that there's a lot of regulars, there's a lot of new people here as well, so do you want to say hello to some folk before we crack on?
We've got Steffi in the chat, a returning Chelsea fan. We got Sam, FPL Snake, Infamous, Nihal with his brilliant questions as per usual. We've got a few new people. We've got Anil, we got Craigo. The house is full, ready for the guest.
I know, and I just noticed that the General's here as well. General Zod has appeared. Good evening, young man. Hope you're doing well, mate. Right, we know that nobody's here for us three. They never are. They're here for the guests. So, shall we get them?
Talk for yourself, mate. They're all here for me and my injections. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, let's bring in the man.
Okie dokie, people. So tonight we've got a podcast extraordinaire. We know that he certainly is above average, although his missus would say otherwise. Just joking, obviously. We have on the show one half of the great double act that hosts their weekly podcasts that are available on all listening devices. However, if you want to see their gorgeous faces, you can now do that on the tubes as well. Matt is really looking forward to this evening's podcast, as he doesn't just have one Spurs fan to deal with, he's now got two. Our very own Boona was on their show a couple of months back, and it was always going to happen, and we had to get them joining us. They're a superb podcast who certainly are along the same lines as us, I would say. Dead relaxed, love having a blather, right? Like taking the piss out of each other, and just dead relaxed. So, well worth a watch and a listen if you aren't already doing so. Tonight, we welcome alongside us into the lounge the talented Baker. Fuck's sake, Stevie. Sounds like the guy's going to be making cakes or something tonight. But no, we have Baker from
It's MasterChef.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It's like MasterChef in here. Tonight we have Baker from Just Above the Average podcast. Sit back, relax, let's get to know him, and all about the podcast as well. And we will also dive in and answer some of your FPL questions and get rid of those headaches. Howdy, Baker, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good. Well, welcome. Talented.
Well, yeah, I just get forced to say some things sometimes. You doing well, though, yeah?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, mate. I'll take it.
Nice one. Good stuff. So, just the normal format, for those that are new, and for yourself, Baker, although I know you've been in a few of the podcasts in the chat, so you're well aware of what happens here. But generally, we've got 3 or 4 questions that we typically ask all our guests on a weekly basis. Boona has received a stack of questions, and I mean a stack. So we'll rattle through the community questions. But as I say, it's Matthew's chat. So if you do have any questions, pop them in, and we'll get through as much as we can. Boona, Matt, Baker, you ready?
Aye.
Let's go for it. Boona, do you want to kick us off then?
Yeah, one second. Let me just do my usual. Let me just find my spreadsheet. Where are the questions? So,
I thought you
okay, I'll go with the famous llama question. So, who are you, Baker? And what do you get up outside of Twitter and YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite old for most of the community, so well, maybe not your world, but yeah, I am just the slight wrong side of 40, so I am an old man in this world. So yeah, all the dull stuff really, work. Got a young son, another one to bring into the pain that me and Boona face in the world of Spurs. So yeah. But other than that, it's mainly talk football. It really is. Part of the reason we started a podcast was because we were already on Zoom all the time talking about football. So we were like, might as well put this out there, and do stuff. So, yeah, I mean, all sports really, but football obviously is the main thing.
How long have you guys been doing your podcast?
Just this season. So yeah, we started this season. Before that, like I say, over the summer, and certainly post the restart, me and most friends would go to the football a lot. So I said as a Tottenham fan, I'd try and go to most games. Not being able to, we sort of looked for other ways we could do it. So we started calling it the Zoom beers. Most games it'd be like, Zoom beers tonight, boys. Yeah, why not? And then started watching them and thought, we quite like this platform as a way to catch up. Certainly, as you can't sort of see as many people over the last year.
Yeah.
Always been pretty keen in the FPL game. I've only been around on Twitter and FPL sort of season before start of last season, so relatively new in that world. Started listening to a few podcasts, and it's just that kind of combination of, we're doing Zoom, I listen to these podcasts, I like talking about football, why don't we just start a pod?
Yeah, that's kind of like the next question, wasn't it? Like how you got into the whole Twitter and YouTube, but I think you've kind of answered it right there. Sounds really like, I remember talking to Boona about it, and he's told me like a kind of bit of the backstory, etc. And it's very similar to us, I would say. We're the same as you guys. Just started it this season, on our own, so to speak, and loving it, loving life.
What's your most listened to video, Baker?
Yeah, still you. Oh, it's disgusting, but it is still yours. Ugh.
Inject some of that.
It's dead easy to unlist, though. I found where that button is. So
the thing is we all know it's because he listens to himself every day.
You know it. You know it.
He just can't get enough.
Yeah. Oh, he's some boy. Matthew, you wanting to chip in?
I'm going straight for the jugular.
Oh, all right then, as always.
You do nothing else, mate. You always go for the jugular. Mix it up a bit. God.
What are your thoughts of Spurs this season?
Oh, Jesus. That was a bit of a curveball.
It's horrific. It's really bad. Like it doesn't get worse. So it's It really doesn't. Like there's been some really disappointing times, over the last couple of seasons. There's been some brilliant times, It's had the pleasure or displeasure of going to the Champions League final. I actually managed to get to a game this season. Managed to go to the North London derby. That was enjoyable, Matt. I thoroughly enjoyed being there for that.
About that one.
But there's been, in terms of disappointments, under Pochettino, which you had so many good times, is when it went bad, it was just sad because you'd had so many just a good way of playing, the passion. You felt like they were your team.
Yeah.
You bring in Mourinho, and there's a whole section that never accepted him. He fully, won me over. I think that all or nothing thing sort of gets you involved in him and starts to make him a little bit more likable. But as you get to watch it, all you really see is a man standing on the side just telling people to do things more. It's like he just stands there and says, could you just run a bit more? Could you just... And you realise, like, you don't see anything, but when you see so many teams out there now where they've got such an identity, so they might have... If you watch the way that Moyes has got West Ham working, that's not like an exciting appointment, but he's got them working. When you see the way that Dean Smith has a whole identity of the way Villa plays football, it's thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah.
Even probably the way that, Arteta likes to park 10 men behind the ball is, at least you know what he's doing.
Yeah. I think that little bit. The thing with Mourinho, though, when he left Man United and joined Spurs, I said that to Boona. I says, look, you'll get a few games where you're loving life, but you'll get a lot of misery will come with it. You will park the bus, you will be 2-0 up and coasting and then struggling to actually win a game, because that seems to be how he manages it, exactly as you've said. So I know, speaking to Boona, he certainly said similar to what you've just mentioned, to be fair.
It'll be interesting to see or hear your thoughts, both your thoughts, because I hadn't asked Boona this either. Do you reckon Mourinho would still have a job if fans are allowed in the stadium? Because You've had
No,
some
gone.
performances. Do you reckon he'll be gone
Be
straight
gone by
away?
now. Yeah.
What about
Yeah,
you,
be
Boo?
gone by now.
Do you reckon? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if Daniel Levy would sack someone this soon. I don't think he's got the bottle for it. He just seems to get. He's someone that just used to like take his time, and I think it's an ego thing with him as well. I don't think he'd be as admitting of his own mistake in getting Jose.
Yeah.
I think the difference though is, where it becomes theoretical is, you don't know what the impact of having a crowd is. We've got the best stadium in the world. You've got 60,000. You've got 60,000 people there. You could argue that there are times where what Mourinho has been very successful at is that kind of siege mentality, and that does go onto the fans where they just assume he's a winner. We're going to win. So therefore, they might have carried him, and some of his, frailties don't come out to the fore. What you really see when there's no crowd influence is coach v coach, team v team, and I think what that then becomes, and because we're all watching every game now, where like they're all tailored out, you really see when there's no identity to a team, and that's what you see when you watch Tottenham. It's just not enjoyable.
I mean, what's really come to the fore is that the City fans are absolute shit, and they make no difference whatsoever. Because City are playing brilliant even without them. Exactly.
It doesn't affect West Ham. They're 100 metres away from the pitch, so it's no bother.
True. That kind of you've actually, Baker, led yourself right into the next question quite fluently there. If you do say so yourself, if that makes sense. That didn't even make sense.
No, it didn't. But carry on.
Football team, Spurs, obviously.
Yeah,
Does that influence your FPL decisions at all?
Yeah. So, and part of the reason to get on the sort of FPL Twitter world was, and everything was that my history, I've been just massive Spurs bias. So I went through many seasons where I would refuse to have anyone Chelsea. I wouldn't have anyone Arsenal. I come from Kent in the UK, and my age. So my age, growing up in the sort of primary school of the 80s, secondary school of the 90s type thing, is everyone supported Liverpool.
Yep.
So you hated them more than anyone else because actually they were just glory hunters. You hate them more than Arsenal in a strange way. The fans, not so much the club was up, but the fans you hated because you were like, you've never even been there. Do you know what I mean? All that side. So like when Salah had his first big season, I was like, well, I don't like Liverpool, so I won't have him. You were these stupid things. When we were up against sort of Leicester for the title, I was like, well, I can't put Mahrez and Vardy in because I'll be cheering on the team that I'm trying to catch. So I historically have been massively way influenced in it. The 2017-18 season, I ended up with a rank of like 780k. My worst ever rank was purely just like, I'm refusing. It's not going to happen.
Jeez, I thought Boona had massive Spurs goggles on, but I think yours were bigger.
It was huge, and there was a moment in that sort of 2018-2019 season where I was like, I kind of even need to stop playing FPL if I want to do it this way. Because I'd always normally, apart from that one season, do enough to like win my work league and do okay with my mates and stuff like that. But I knew I was always holding myself back, and it was like I kind of even need to walk away from this, or I need to take it properly. Right. So I thought, you know what, I might as well take it properly, go for it. And so I thought I'll start this, Twitter account. What happened was I'd seen that sort of infamous Ronaldinho, the Ronaldinho guy. He does did the Pereira thread where he went through. Infamous. I read that. It came up
Neil,
on like my So Neil Murray's tweet came up on like my personal Twitter, and I saw that, and I thought, and I didn't even know there was this world of FPL Twitter at this time. And then I thought, I'll keep it separate. I'll create a new one. Yeah. Did that, and then thought, actually, there's some useful stuff in there, especially then you see like when Rockstar suddenly was ruling the world for us, and we were like, oh, great, this is really, competitive advantage. And that's where it becomes a bit funny with my pod partner, CY. He didn't know about it. and he had beat me on a number of occasions over the last few years. And I thought, oh, this might be a way that I can suddenly get in front. And last season, I'm then like quite a bit at some point ahead of him. And when the sort of restart came about, he found out I had this Twitter. He actually found out because he had a Football Index account, but we were both playing a thing called Footstock, like a training platform. And Holly Shand from Football Community was tweeted about me winning, and he responded to her and said, "No, that's not the person. It's a friend of mine." And I was like, "Oh, busted!"
So you got caught with your pants right down.
Absolutely did. Yeah, absolutely did. So yeah, that's. But to go back to the bias bit about it was, I've now sold my soul. I happily celebrated Holding's 8 points off the bench last game week.
Oh, you're filthy. You're disgusting. Get out of here.
Happily celebrated it.
Well, at least Aubameyang's nowhere near your squad at the moment.
Nah.
In fact, I don't think anyone knows where Aubameyang actually is.
No, I did the average, brought him in game week 2 as everyone else did, and then
he's been missing since he signed the contract, didn't he? Matt?
It's bizarre that.
Have you seen that Bednarak's red card's been overturned?
Yes.
Yeah, but
his Southampton played Newcastle. Yeah, it's not too bad for their defence. It's pretty good, especially if is Bertrand or Walker Peters likely to be back. Do we know?
Not sure. I just seen the thing with the red card being overturned.
Louise's didn't they? Unlucky, Matt.
Fucking
I mean, to be fair, it's probably a blessing in fairness. He's shit.
Corruption, referee corruption.
Oh, there's your podcast partner in crime, I think, in the chat there. Pants down with £600 in his pocket.
Yeah, not bad. I enjoyed that one.
But back to FPL. If I've got a nice little question we like to ask all our guests, Baker, and if you're at the top of FPL towers, would there be something that you would replace or change about the game?
Well, selfishly, it would be captains. Captains would go immediately. I love all the other chips because I think they really form the way that you play strategy. So a lot of people say just out, but I really dislike the fact that you can want one of your own players to not get points. That's just weird, in a way of doing it. It's it never sits well with me that someone's like 120% owned and you're like, I don't really want to. And also, it doesn't encourage the sort of. Sometimes it really puts you away from the fun picks because you're like, I'm trying to cover it. I think we'd all cover a lot less on ownership, and certainly on some of the big hitters. Most of us each week are thinking we've got to have Salah and Fernandes in our teams because we're like, even if we're not going to captain, even if you want to go for an adventurous captain, you're still going to have them in your team because you're trying to limit it. Whereas if they weren't getting that double, we'd all be a lot more fun in how we play the game. So, plus, I'm rubbish at it.
See why it confirms that. I completely disagree, mate. I think captaincy makes it so much more exciting. If you didn't have no captaincy, imagine being like 150 points behind with like 5 game weeks to go. Like, at least you've got some sort of hope that you've still got a chance. Taking that captaincy out just ruins that for me.
Yeah, but then if you're all playing on the same playing field right from the
But you are anyway, because you all get the option to who's a captain.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I agree with Anil in the chat there. He says, I want the 2-defender chip back, all-out attack. And I was actually about to, just before we went live, I was just going to send a wee quick tweet to Official FPL, just for this game week only, to see if I could play a 2-5-3. And that would just save my whole
all-out
bench.
attack.
Yeah, that would just save my bench headache.
What was I going to say? Baker, there's a question here I don't want to miss out from Nihal, one of our regular contributors. I'm really interested in your thoughts as well. I'd love him to come back and start featuring again. He asked about Dele Alli. What's your situation? I think he's so much better than everything we've got playing right now. He needs to find his head. Jose needs to put an arm around him and just get him back in there, man.
the thing is, that if they did sack Jose tomorrow and a new manager come in, it's the first thing they'd do. It's the first thing they'd do. And you ask yourself, why do you have to wait for a sacking for these things to happen? Like, just do it. Is getting back in. And there's a lot of convenient injuries. Tottenham is a club, and I'm sure there are other clubs that have these ones, but I feel that as a club we have a lot of convenient injuries, and I just don't think they probably are injuries. They're just hidden behind something else.
Yeah.
Lo Celso, not convinced. I'm just not convinced those things are. And yeah, people are saying Dele Alli's out for a couple of weeks, and it is, again, it's his excuse. After the loss on the weekend, every single one of us would say, get Dele Alli in. Yeah. Is because actually last season as well, when Kane was out, Ali did a great job for us. People don't think of him as not having a good season. He scored 8 goals in 25 games in the Premier League last season. That's pretty good. Is if you have a player that plays 36, 38 games in the Premiership and scores 12 goals, which he was well on track for, it's a good season. People feel like he's gone off it. He would be straight in for me.
Do you reckon he'll feature tonight?
No, apparently he said he's a few. That's even that. He said earlier in the week that he's probably a couple of weeks away, and then saw his interview. Saw his interview and said a couple of days away. So,
mate, I feel so sorry for Ndombele right now. Tanguy's absolutely bossing it. He's on the top. He's on top of his game right now, and people around him just ain't cutting it.
Yeah,
he is. He is. Tanguy is just. He's a special player. Like
Man, he reminds me of Musa, man. He's the closest we've had to him.
Yeah, it's like some kind of like love child of Dembele and Yaya Toure, basically. In a way which are unbelievable compliments about him. The one thing I don't think he's got in him is the head to carry a team that's down, and that's what you saw the other night. Was suddenly he picked up a few knocks and suddenly he wasn't so. And I'm like, please don't ruin this, because we've got such a special player there, and you just feel he would feed off players like Ali. He's not getting the opportunity to.
Adam's just tuned in. I've just tuned in. Is this a Spurs podcast? Loving.
It's more a therapy session.
It is a therapy session. Yeah. So what kind of, just on FPL I suppose, what kind of way would you describe yourself, Baker, as an FPL manager? Are you kind of maverick in the way that you play the game, or are you a slow player?
I am, I wouldn't say it's actually slow, but I am quite dull. Okay. So yeah, perfect guest. And this one is I would say is, in terms of the way I play, I am dull. I try to have quite a well-rounded squad rather than necessarily, which can have issues because I've often got too many options on the bench, and then I'm like headaches every week. But I have taken quite a few hits. Like I think I've probably taken more hits than Boona this season. He's a reformed character.
You sure?
Madness.
He's reformed now. He's boring, Baker.
Yeah. But then,
is he?
But this is the thing, though, right? We were so as Boona was saying there before we kind of went live. We had Ola in last night, who's currently he's been number 1 in the world for the last 12 game weeks, and then last week we interviewed the world number 3 and number 8 on the show, and out of the 3 of them, I think only one of them's taken 1 hit, and it's like the world number 3, I think it was, had taken a 4-point hit. That's it between the 3 of them.
No. Ola's taken 2.
Has he?
But that was the most. Yeah, number 3 had taken 1, and the guy at the time who was 8th had taken none. Yeah. But it just goes to show that this season, what we've understood from it is it's not been the season to take too many risks or hits in comparison to previous seasons.
I just took a magnificent hit in 21. Genuinely, one of the worst. And I don't even know what I got. This is problem with some of the Twitter world, is you get caught up with it.
Oh, you don't want to go down that road.
I took an 8-point hit in 21 to bring in Dina, Calvert-Lewin, and Gundogan into my team. Captain Gundogan, he got 3 points.
Yep.
Dino, and obviously Dino and Calvert got 3 points between them.
Who did you take out though?
I'm guessing Bamford's going to be in there.
I benched Bamford as a result. So I then lost his 15 points. I took out Souček.
Oh,
Sure.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I took out Kufau, which didn't seem bad at the time, but then he got his clean sheet yesterday. So, no, he didn't get clean sheet, did he?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. So that's good. So Kufau. However, I do want a West Ham defender now for the next couple of games because I've got Fulham and Sheffield United.
yeah.
And I took out Werner because that was a way too punty world for me to live in.
But the enjoyable thing about FPL is you have a game week like that, and what happens? You still come back for more.
Yeah. So then I did that. -8. You think, well, Boona told me it doesn't have to pay in the first week. Well, it can't pay in the second week if I then benched Gundogan, which I did this week, and I transferred Dina straight back out for Trent, which also
Why do that, you idiot?
Because I was so dismayed at watching Everton on the weekend. I was like, I want Trent and I want to just keep him there for the rest of the season. Well, one game in, I'm like, what a waste of money. Get rid of him. But you've got the patience is definitely a virtue on this one. Is that every time I've taken it, I took I did have one good hit on Everton early in the season. Game week 2, I took the game week 5. I took the hit on James and DCL, and they got like the 35 points whatever they got that week. That was fun. But I think I then convinced myself I could do that every week, and it's not happened.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a. I mean, I've had an alright game week, so it's been no too bad. But I think what we'll do is I think we should move on to the kind of community questions, Boona and Matt, that have come in, because there is a load of them.
Your final question, and then we'll go on to the community question.
And then I know, having seen this Twitter scrolling past, Baker, there's a lot of people want to ask you a lot of stuff. So I think in fairness to as many people as possible, we'll crack through them. However, before we go there, I need to ask you the final question that we normally ask. So...
Shoot.
He's passing.
So, it's the final seconds of a Champions League final. You're through on goal. You're 1-on-1 with the keeper. You're just about to lace your boot through the ball when out the corner of your eye, you see your strike partner there. Now, you know, Baker, if you pass to him, he's surely not going to miss because he's got an open goal. The keeper's 1-on-1 with you. However, Baker, it's you that's got the ball at the feet. So what are you doing with it? Are you smashing it or are you passing it?
No, I'd pass.
Hey, I'm back on track, baby.
You fucked the algorithm up. I had an algorithm going and you fucked it. Cheers, mate.
Boona was on like a 4-win streak at there. You just fucked it, Baker.
That's it, guys. I'll be off. I'll catch you next week. Fuck this.
It's so good though. Is there any reason for that? Is that like was that the type of player you like? You know, when you play?
Yeah, it was definitely the type of player I play. But there's also you kind of remember some of those things. Like again, show the age of stuff. But for those the Euro '96, you know, of a special time, and I was like not quite old enough.
3, Baker.
Yeah, well, it's I was 17.
Yeah, I remember Gascoigne just lobbing Colin Henry and slotting it past.
That was enjoyable, wasn't it? But I'll always remember Sheringham's pass in when we beat Holland 4-1, and there's a moment there where Holland were the team that played football, and Sheringham could have scored. And he just has his tap to the side and Shearer puts it in, and it just creates a magical moment for everyone. So even yourself in that, you know, take the magical moment and play the percentages. Yeah, because I am dull.
No, but then that's you. You've just won yourself a Champions League medal by passing it, and not
you get the
potentially
story.
At Rose Ed.
You get the story definitely if they do it that way.
Exactly. Okay, then. I think we shall dive through, Baker, into some of the community questions. But Matt, I'll come over to you first because I know that the chat's been scrolling at a fair rate this evening. So I don't know where you're at with the chat. and what
Right, the
questions
first
you want to pick out, and we'll try and rattle through as many as we can.
I've been shitting a brick about trying to pronounce this name, so I've been like trying to like mouth it this whole time, and I'm going to butcher your name, buddy. So I'm so sorry. Aniban, I'm guessing. Buddha, you'll probably have to change that straight away and say it right.
I'm trying to find his name. How far up are we talking?
It's above the hammers signs that Daniel put.
Fuck knows, man. We'll just go with that, bro. I've seen it. Yeah, that's cool.
Is City double defence still a good option, given the fixture list, Baker?
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh,
love
next
it.
question. That's an easy question.
That was dead easy.
I'm playing double seat defence this week against Liverpool. They're shit. I don't know about you lot.
Absolutely planned them both. Absolutely planned them both. They enjoy it.
I've even got Maguire and he's going on the bench. I'm like, fuck this. Trust me. I've got Calvert-Lewin as well. A bit of a conflict of interest, but I think City, easy clean sheet.
That kind of goes to KK's question. Afternoon, lads. Thoughts on benching Salah, Cancelo, and Stones this weekend?
You're nuts, mate.
That's mad. What are your thoughts, Baker?
It is an interesting one. I've got 5 players in that game. And you like...
So is Ola, the guy at the top. He's got 5 and he was a little bit worried. He messaged me about it the other night. He was like, fuck, I've got 5 in that game.
Yeah.
Look,
do you want
sorry,
that
Baker,
exposure?
Sorry, Baker, just to cut in, right? You know that the things have went to shit when the world number 1 in FPL is sliding into Buna's DMs to ask him questions.
Oh, pipe down, son. What do you mean? He knows about the inject movement. Did you see his tweet yesterday? He was injecting. People went outraged. They were like, what the fuck you done to him?
Yeah. Sorry, Baker.
We do need to monitor his hit intake over the next 10 weeks, though, don't we? We know he's not been taking it.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
Man's contagious. Yeah, it's a lot in it. 5 players, half your game week's taken up against it. But how do you see it playing out? Like, I cannot see a Liverpool clean sheet. Not the way that they defend, and not with the defenders that they've got. Yeah. Which then poses a problem for, and oh my god, I've just brought Trent in, and now I'm like, maybe I should take him out again.
I hear Dini's available.
Yeah, I hear Dini's available.
I've heard folk flip-flopping before, but never between Trent and Dini.
Disgusting. But yeah, I can't see myself benching Diaz or Stones this weekend.
Nah.
If you know, you look at your cheap options and you think, well, are they really like? They just love it, and what you definitely saw. So I think from watching City last night, we expected maybe a bit of rotation. There wasn't a lot of rotation. What you did see was the pace was slower. They played. I thought again, just every time I watch them, they're playing like champions.
Yeah.
They were very, very happy to spend time with the ball, just let it go, you know, and then 5-6 minutes from the end, they've learnt from that Chelsea conceding goal.
They're levels above every single team, Baker. Levels.
Levels. I mean, that was really painful as a double City defence owner when that.
That was frustrating, man.
Oh. But I feel like they learned from it. You know, they 5 minutes to go, they are putting it in the corner, they're keeping it there. Not injury time, like 85-minute onwards. Yeah. They are all about protecting it. Yeah. It would not surprise me. You cannot bench Salah. It just don't even consider it. Gundogan.
Can you get rid of Salah?
You know.
Can you
get rid of Salah?
I know that's the thing, pal. There's a lot of people asking that I've seen in the chat flicking through. Do I bench Salah? I'm going to bench Salah. Can you bench Salah? I mean,
Mate, what's
your kind of views on that? Oh, sorry, Matt.
Oscar with a question to go with that one. He goes, "Am I crazy if I put Lingard in for Salah?"
So there you go. I never thought I'd see the day where Lingard was coming in for Salah.
Mate, he did bits. He did bits.
And it is Fulham, so...
If you ask me who scores the most points over the next 2 game weeks, I'd go Lingard. You know, I feel exposed. I've got no West Ham players in my squad currently, and they've got.
Is that biased?
No. Just seem to have naturally, you know, moved out. But you want them back. You know, is for this week is I can't see that we get through these 2 game weeks and Antonio doesn't return, Suchik doesn't return, Cresswell doesn't return. I think you'd be happy with all of those ones. Yeah. Would I get rid of Salah for one of those? Yeah. I wouldn't be against it. I still wouldn't go Lingard because I think that Cresswell, Suchek and Antonio are elite options. They are actually good players, and still going to be the main focus, I feel.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday, actually, in the Discord. And, I've got Diaz and Robertson. So I've decided that I'm going to start Diaz. And then to try and split it a little bit, I've got Salah and Gundogan. Mm-hmm. So I was contemplating starting Salah and benching Gundogan. But then that means that I don't play Calvert-Lewin. So that's kind of where my dilemma comes in. Do I start DCL over Gundogan or the other way about? So that's my only thing I think I'm captaining Antonio, by the way. I'm just telling everyone now, live as witnesses, that's where my captain's armband's going.
Don't break Antonio, man, for fuck's sake.
That's where don't break him.
He's such a talisman, though, isn't he? You want him in. I've got the same pain at the moment. I've got Calvert-Lewin first on my bench.
He bullied a Villa defence that has been brilliant this season.
I told you, I said this in the last pod when you were having a go at me saying, you fucking mad.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that right now, okay? Just shut up. So we're talking about the fact that he is, that's irrelevant. But he's looking unreal right now. Yeah. He really is. The only issue with
You've went alien.
Oh, you've gone, buddy.
Yeah, Bruno, you've went a bit alien, mate. You might want to tap out and drop back in again. It's not a bad thing. The listeners are loving it. Will's put out his internet because he's actually just went completely off. What I'll do then is, since it's just the 2 years, I'll throw Daniel Hill's little grenade in and I'll take the pin out. Could Arsenal finish above Spurs this season? What we saying?
No.
You don't reckon?
I don't think so.
I reckon we could, I reckon we got a good chance of doing it. We got some good fixtures together. We got robbed in that Wolves game. I reckon we could.
Oh, absolutely did. Yeah. Could they? Yes. Do I think they will? No. Do I want to entertain the fact? Absolutely not.
Am I back?
You are back, yes. You turned into alien Boona there for a little bit, mate. But you're back now, and it's good to...
Awesome.
So what what were you saying? Go back to what you were talking about.
No, I was just saying, Antonio is an unbelievable asset right now. I've got a decision to make, because I want to get you guys' thoughts, and particularly your thoughts as well on this Baker, considering we've got you on the pod. But I've got Sterling in my midfield, and although he's got that double game week coming up, I'm really not feeling it. I'm not impressed. I don't like what I see from him. His confidence isn't there. He isn't doing what I know he's capable of doing. And I am tempted to get rid of him for potentially, if Spurs do well today and Son looks, more on it, potentially bringing Son back in for that West Brom fixture, or Rashford, who had an assist against Everton in the reverse fixture, and then he's also got West Brom and is it Sheffield United, and he did bits against those teams as well. So I've got that decision. Alternatively, I could go like Calvert-Lewin to Antonio or Bamford. And those two players, I just really like them right now. So I'm not sure what way to go, to be honest, mate.
It's a really difficult one because, I can't remember ever having or ever seeing a game week like we've seen this game week we're currently in, is where so many players have returned. Is as I said, normally if you had 4 or 5 returners, then you get a green arrow, and most people have got, if you've got 7 or 8, you might still have a red at the moment. There's a lot of fantastic options, which is partly one of the reasons why I think you've seen, the guys that have been doing unbelievably well, like next level, are not having to take that a lot of hits, because most guys you've got will come good. Sterling in any given game week can score a hat-trick. I'd be really encouraged by the position that he scored from yesterday. Bang, right in the middle of the 6-yard box, 4 yards out. That's where you want to see him. very, very difficult, I'd say, to take him out. Do I think... would I want Son in? Definitely, because not only have you got a good fixture this game week, you've then got doubles coming up, but City away in 24, I mean, that's like such a guaranteed clean sheet the way we're playing at the moment. Potentially Kane's back for that, and obviously Son does like playing City. But and then away to West Ham, who are defending really well. So it's a tough call. I think if you're ever going to do it to Son, it's probably now, because you've got the Liverpool, then you've got that issue, haven't you? If you keep Sterling, you've got him home to Tottenham.
But he always does well against us anyway, so I'm not actually bothered by that. Do you know what? I've actually convinced myself just asking you that question. Liverpool's defence isn't exactly doing well right now either. Maybe it's not the worst decision keeping him.
And also, you know how much he wants to score against Liverpool.
Yeah.
And we've seen how bad he's been against Liverpool when there's been a crowd there. He has definitely, hurt him. And then last season he played him when there weren't a crowd, and I'm pretty sure he scored from memory. So I think he'll cash in when he gets the opportunity. I'd definitely keep him. Plus, there's every chance they've got the double in 24. So you're going to, if you take him out, you're definitely bringing a City player in next week. And you're like, why am I bothering with that?
Yeah.
I'll just keep him.
Yeah.
If you had to make a decision, all three of you right now, and you had to bring in one player, who would it be, Antonio or Bamford? It's a difficult one, I feel like it is anyway.
Antonio
for the doubles as well.
I'd bring Antonio in. It's one of my considerations.
Because I've got my wild card, so, we ain't all wasted it. So,
yeah, all right.
But Leeds just look so electric, man. I just want to bring in that Leeds double up, Rafinha and Bamford. They're so exciting.
But if you go back, I can't remember. Sorry, Matt. I can't remember who was it we were talking to that was a Leeds fan.
Three, wasn't it?
Who was it?
Number three in the world.
Yeah, and he was saying that you'll get Bamford scoring you or giving you 12, 15 points in a game week, but then he'll go on like 8 games not giving you anything. And that he was saying Rafinha was possibly the better choice. That's why he had Rafinha. Is it? I'm right in saying that, yeah. Or would
the longest Bamford's gone all season is 3 games without any sort of returns, and then the next is 2 games. So it's not that long if you think about it.
But for me, I would be saying Antonio, pal.
They are.
I might do them both. Wait, do you guys like this? How about Adams? I know this isn't all about Buna. I'm so sorry, guys, but how about Antonio and Calvert-Lewin to those two for a -4? Is that just a bit risky? So so DCL and Adams to Antonio and Bamford for a -4. Is that a yay, or is that just do one of them, or would you do neither?
Who's your midfield?
Yeah,
midfield is Grealish, Salah, Sterling, Souček, and Bruno.
Yeah, so you're going to have that problem. So I'm in a similar boat in this world where I've got Bruno, Grealish, Son, Salah, Gundogan. 5 very good options. I've got Bamford, Watkins, and Calvert-Lewin.
Oh, shit.
I don't want Calvert-Lewin of my 3 forwards. Probably
but Calvert-Lewin might have a double in 24 as well.
So I'll keep him, and then you're like, well, but I'm at the moment having to bench one of those 8. Now, if you do it, you're going to have my pain where Souček sits there and gets you 15 points. Souček's next 2 games, you're not going to bench him. You're not going to bench any of those other ones.
Yeah, I've never benched Souček's points. You know that, never.
Exactly.
Fucking brilliant.
And you're not going to. So you're now going to you're going to take a -4 to have 3 strikers, despite the fact that you can only play 2 of them. Point.
No. I would be able to play both of them if I did the -4, because my third striker is Brewster. So it'd be Calvert-Lewin and Adams to Bamford and Antonio, which I do like, but
I'll do that.
I feel like Southampton have got bounce back ability, man. If they've got their players coming back as well. I
don't trust Adams anymore.
You don't?
I don't think he gets the minutes. He's either first one on the pitch or first one off the pitch. I don't see it.
Is it something
you don't see Calvert-Lewin doing anything, boys?
So this is where that kind of goes into the wee dilemma I was talking about. I feel if can he be arsed Martial starts and Static Matic starts, then I'll be kicking myself if I didn't start Calvert-Lewin. Because Man United just won't be at the races, and it's one of those games where Everton will steal it, or it'll be a comfortable win for Everton. That's just what Man United are like at the moment. And if that was to happen, I'll be sitting there with Calvert-Lewin on my bench. However, I've also got Gundogan sitting there, who, it depends how you want to look at that City-Liverpool game. I agree with you, you know, when you were saying earlier, there's probably more chance or likelihood that Liverpool might concede. So it's going to be City's kind of day. But I think I'm swaying now towards just starting DCL for that chance that even if Man United win, I still think Everton can score. So chances are.
Can we just take a second to? You've got Watkins? Did you say, Baker?
Yeah.
I think Villa are going to absolutely trounce Arsenal if they've got Runnison in behind that defence.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I can't bench him now. Like, I was looking at him thinking, oh, maybe I could do, but he scored.
Who are you going to bench? It's got to be Suchek again, I presume.
Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin's on my bench.
Are you benching? Okay.
Yeah. I'm playing Gundogan.
13-pointer incoming then.
I think the other thing as well, though, Buna, and I don't know if you watched Andy Let's Talk earlier today, and he and I think it was a fair bit of advice. A lot of teams are going to be similar in the sense that they've all got benching headaches, like what we're kind of discussing now. And what he was saying is, after this game week or prior to the next game week, we're going to all know what the double game weeks are. So if you can go into that with 2 free transfers, then that's a good position to be in. So I think with what you're saying, and I don't know why I'm advising you really, because at the end of the day you're an opponent, but if you really need to make a change, then make it. But if you're not, then I would just try and keep what you've got. Put out who you think's the best 11 and just keep your transfer. That gives you 2 to go into a game where you now know who's definitely got doubles and what they look like, and that'll put you in a better position.
I don't think we'll know 100% on the doubles, so we'll know the blanks for the next game week, but I don't expect that they'll confirm that they'll be played in 26 till potentially after this game week 24. So it's difficult if you think about it. The last FA Cup game, I think there might be a Thursday FA Cup game next week.
Right.
No, it's a Wednesday night FA Cup, but the deadline's Friday.
Okay.
So I don't think Thursday they suddenly come out and say these are all these fixtures. I don't see that.
No, that's true. You could be like what Badman said in the chat there. Just put all your money in your starting 11. I hate having all these bench headaches.
I think it's massive. It's a massive thing. Is if you can do that, then it's the way to go. You know, I'm in two minds on how to do this wildcard world, because I bench boosted, which means that I've got excess money sitting around. I've got like £1 million sitting around, but then, I mean, that same token where I'm like, I can't really spend it all.
It's like we're all saving up for something.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
That's well, mid-price assets have done so bloody well this season.
So well.
And it's like what you said, Baker. This game week's been bizarre in the sense that pretty much 8 out of your starting 11s came back with points, which rarely happens.
How do you guys think the Palace Leeds game's going to plan out on Monday?
That could just be open gambit.
No Zaha as well, so I don't think they're going to have as much attacking fit. I think Leeds are going to be all over them.
Yeah,
that's what really tempts me about Bamford then.
Well,
sure.
I tell you what, Vinny, you have a good drink and have a wee think about it.
Minus 20.
I am leaning towards the Calvert-Lewin and Adams to Bamford and Antonio. I think that gives me a really nice team.
Well, if that's what you think, go with your gut, as G Wiz would say.
The thing is, everyone would think that, you know, Leeds home to Palace is a good thing, but Leeds lost 4-1 at Palace.
Yeah.
Like, Roy's no fool, you know, and there's he does know how to play against that sort of non-top 8 team, shall we say, in a polite way for Leeds. It would not surprise me that if he went there and did okay. It really wouldn't, because what he does, you know, I've considered potentially moving out Bamford for Antonio this week as an option. I just don't feel that comfortable not having West Ham at the moment. I think they're playing so well. It's what's the best option for
Eze
it.
did bits in that game.
Easy.
Eze
Eze.
Such a talent.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go in and start asking some of these community questions. Aaron Ramsey, and I've put in brackets Boona Beaver, because he definitely wants this asked. Because I think
this isn't the Aaron Ramsey that we've been linked with, by the way. We have been linked with Aaron Ramsey.
Oh, well, we haven't, have we?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, have you? Double game week, or blank game week thinking. What do you think? If you've got all your chips, what kind of strategy would you be looking at, do you think, Baker?
I mean, if you've got all your chips, well, you bench boosting in 26 if you've got your bench boost. That's what you do, definitely. You know, you're working for that. So you would wildcard, depending on how we get the results, 24 or 25, looking at your bench boost 26. The only thing about this 26 bench boost, and the only thing actually about football going forward, is we have to start factoring that European competition and the business end of European competition is literally on our doorstep within 2 weeks coming back in. That's going to mean actually some of the more premium assets become a little bit more dangerous to have. It also means some of those lineups become a little bit more predictable in the teams not involved in it. So your West Hams, they've suddenly, when they've got a week between games, they're well rested. Your likes of Antonio, who's not the greatest in fitness, suddenly becomes amazing. If you give Villa a week to prepare for a game, I think they do pretty well most of the time. They're a well-drilled team. So when you're factoring in your 26, that bench boost, the only issue is it's either side of a European team matchup, and you're going to want those players from those, potentially from those teams. So it's a dangerous one, but it's also dangerous for the triple captain world of that as well. So
there was a few people actually. You're not the first guest that we've had on that said that. There's a few people were saying that they'd played their chips there, like, or they try and play their chips early. You know, some of them play them earlier doors for that reason. Because who you really want to triple. Well, it kind of brings us into the next question there, Boona, from Annie. You know, when you're looking to play your triple captain or your bench boost, and it's at the tail end of the season when teams, or you would hope the big teams are in the kind of final stages of cup competitions and in Europe, it's not a guarantee that they're actually going to be playing the double game weeks, or they get rested for one of them, you know.
No one's guaranteed to have both games in a double, not one player.
Exactly.
Apart from a goalkeeper, probably.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know, Boona or Matt, if you want to give Baker the question there from Annie, because it leads nicely into that, I suppose.
Yeah, so Annie asked, best player to triple captain on. Is triple captain on a defender a good choice in a double game week, since attackers might get rested or reduced minutes?
So, kind of links nicely.
I'll give the story of last season, is that I triple captain Mane, my partner in crime triple captain Trent. Trent got 36 points, Mane got 3. It's a very, very viable option for players. You know, it very much so. Look at what Stones has done. Look at what Diaz did. You know, Diaz was just, the Stones one is just out of this world what he did in the last double game week. But we kind of expected it from Diaz. You know what he delivered. What would you want from a triple captain? I kind of think what you really want is 15 points if you can get them. He got 18. Thanks very much. You got to look at what the fixtures are, but I definitely wouldn't be against it. In terms of attacking options, if we get a good double with Kane, it's the one. I don't think anyone needs to overthink it. You know, is in that sense, just look at the number of points he's got. Look at how nailed on he is. Yeah, it's just what it is.
It's like what you say. You don't need to over kind of complicate it. David, that's just joined, he's just woke up actually. He is very much, well, I don't know if advocate's the right word, but he does certainly mention it a hell of a lot about,
Boring.
captaining or triple captaining in double game weeks defenders. He's mentioned it on many occasions, and he called it out actually about potentially triple captaining a City defender on that last double game week there. So I've never done it though.
I've never done it, but it definitely is that the Kane one. So if you haven't got your bench boost, potentially in 26 he has home to Burnley and home to Southampton.
Okay.
We've already put 5 past Southampton. You've seen what can happen with them. Yep. It happens to them way too regularly.
The double game weeks have just been confirmed, guys.
Oh, have they? I just noticed a Neil mentioning that there in the chat.
Yeah, so double game week in game week 24 is Everton versus City and Burnley versus Fulham. And game week 25 is Leeds versus Southampton. So who did Leeds and Southampton have in 25? So Leeds' double game week will be Leeds versus Wolves and Southampton, and Southampton versus Chelsea and Leeds.
Okay. And what was the other one?
And the other one was City, Everton, and Burnley, Fulham.
Okay.
In 24.
Interesting.
I don't know what to make of that, to be honest. I'll just wait till people talk about it.
Yeah, I'll just wait until it kind of sinks in a little bit and then kind of see where I go from there. Matt, any questions in the chat that you want to burn through and ask our Baker?
Yeah, we've got a couple. We've got another good one from Nihal. Who has been your guilty pleasure pick this season? That's a nice one. I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I should probably say Rob Holding, shouldn't I? In a dirty way. But it's Diaz. It's 100% Diaz for me. Is that I got on him very, very early. Just loved the way that he just bosses them. There was an early comment, I think it was about game week 7 or 8, when he just talked about his leadership qualities, and I thought, well, he's 23 years old. You mean he doesn't look 23, does he? But he is. He doesn't play like 23. And he just said the unbelievable words for Pep to say about undroppable. When I went early, we were chatting, and everyone was like, "Go the fullbacks. Don't ever pick a centre back." And I was like, yeah, I get it, but look, he's just so good that he's definitely been there. My probably romantic one in it is just Grealish. Like I said on our podcast last week, is I can't see him ever leaving my team. I would happily pay to watch him play every week. It's just a joy to own.
Diaz?
Grealish.
Oh, what a player.
It's just a joy to have, I
think he would fit right in at United,
It fitted anyway.
Souček for me, mate. I'll cut him up salad every day if he keeps returning like the points he's returning. What a player.
No, I agree with Baker though. I think Grealish is definitely one of those players. What was it? He's the most fouled player this season.
Oh, it's a special kind of balance that he has. It's Hazard in his prime, you used to see it quite often with him, I used to get incredibly annoyed going to watch games and watch Hazard. He is such spatial awareness and low centre of balance that he gets himself between the ball that you could foul him all day and he never ends up with a mark on him. He's never going to get injured. He's never going to get off. But he's still fouled because he's just smart and looks after himself. You should, you look at the size of Grealish's calves. I mean, he's just a monster, really, in terms of the way he looks after himself.
Big calves and no shin guards.
Yeah, dreamy.
What was I going to say? Nayar, I think we've kind of answered that question, Buna, with the chip strat, haven't we?
Yeah.
So I think hopefully Nayar, you're quite happy with the answer on that one. Buna, the next one, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so Mahir asks a question that no one really gives a shit about, but the question is, Struik or Mitchell, who's better? It's like the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Well, the one that plays, probably.
What, and this Mitchell game week, are we saying? Or
I think it means moving forward, but Mitchell's lost his place, so you can't go in.
You can't go in. And then Struik's just a matter of time to lose it again.
He's doing okey pokey, isn't he?
The only thing with that, Struik, is he has actually had a few decent chances in the last few game weeks. But so I would go through it because I think Mitchell's done again, and he'll always eventually be done because Van Aanholt's a good player.
Yeah.
We got another question in from Sheila, which is interesting. It's back on the bench headache, and it's with a transfer as well. It goes with a forward. She goes with a forward line of DCL and Watkins and Bamford. Would you switch any of them for Antonio? Would mean benching one of Salah, Gundo, and Souček.
That sounds very similar to my headache. So interesting to hear your thoughts, Baker.
I've got exactly that forward line. So and I want Antonio. If I was to have got rid of one prior to what we've just heard, I probably would have gone Bamford. But the fact that we now know they've got a double in 25, it's just mad to do it now. It doesn't make sense because it's not like his fixtures are that terrible. Ownership wise, you could easily get, that's if you look at what happened last night in FPL world, is what everyone who's got a red arrow got hurt by was the massive ownership players returning.
Yeah.
Antonio is a big own, so if you were in a good rank, I would say a defensive move would be go Watkins to Antonio, because I can't ever see Watkins ever being highly owned. The other thing with Watkins is that although he's scored in each of the last 3, he's got 0 bonus. And there's not many strikers where that happens. Most strikers, just they get the extra points for it. But the reason is because of his shot volume. He gets so many shots off and you lose points every shot that doesn't go in. So he rarely gets it. Grealish's baseline BPS is off the charts. He gets an assist yesterday and he gets the BPS.
Yeah.
Like that rarely happens. Same with Gundogan yesterday. So I benched Gundogan for Watkins. Watkins scores, Gundogan gets an assist, and Gundogan, gets that 2 BPS and Watkins gets none. So I think with Watkins I'm starting to think is maybe he's the one to move on because he's never, he's got to score twice. He doesn't assist many. So my answer, coming back on it, would probably you could let him go, but there's 2 doubles, at some point for Villa.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, but I think, and I might be wrong here, Sheila, reading between the lines, but assuming wrongly, that you've already got Grealish in your midfield, then I think taking out Watkins for Antonio and benching Souček might be the way I would think about going. But it's hard to kind of give full on, and this is just advice, isn't it, really? What we would possibly do, but at the end of the day, go with your own gut feeling. But it's quite hard without seeing a team. So that's just a kind of assumption there. But I don't know, Boone or Matt, you want to chip in anything else?
There's a really good question in the chat from CY. He says, how do you make a Bakewell tart?
Surprisingly, despite my name, I'm not actually a particularly great baker.
Fraud. Shame.
I do like to smoke meat. I've got a pretty fancy smoker, which CY knows very well.
Matt's a pretty fancy smoker.
Yeah, so I do. You will find me in the barbecue most weekends, but I don't particularly enjoy baked goods as much as my name suggests. So no, I don't know, but I do like a Bakewell tart.
Cherry Bakewell tarts. Ashwin was asking from the community, in your opinion, the best premiums to own currently, potentially going forward. What do you think?
None of them.
I don't.
I think Burnley have an absolutely amazing double game week in game week 24.
Okay.
Crystal Palace away and Fulham at home.
They've actually got a fair run of Burnley. I've sort of longingly kept hold of.
They've got 4 really nice fixtures, Baker.
Yeah, I've got Charlie Tate. I'm contemplating playing, because I think he'll be back, I contemplated playing Charlie Taylor over Trent Alexander-Arnold this weekend and not making a substitution, not making a transfer this week. It's disgusting.
I would. That's an easy decision. Brighton, and then
they've got Brighton. They've now got a double in. Is it 24? They've got a double, and then they've got home to West Brom in 25, and then they're away to Spurs, and we don't score anything anyway. So, and then home to Arsenal, and they don't score much either. So,
all truths. That's all you get on this show. All truths.
I've actually got the money to go to Nick Pope. I wonder if I should go Martinez to Nick Pope.
Oh.
Don't steal my transfer, Baker. That's what I was gonna do.
Were you actually?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
It's not bad, is it?
Little goalkeeper swaps happening here, Boona, round about us.
Mm.
Where were we there? Kirubel Aman's asking, hey guys, who should I play? That's the same again. Soucek or DCL?
I'm so happy I'm not the only one with this issue, and everyone's got this issue.
It's just what we
Soucek.
Yeah, so you're
Soucek this week.
Yeah, Soucek. What about you, Boona?
Soucek or who? Sorry,
DCL.
This week.
Yeah, Soucek.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Soucek, yeah.
You the same, Matt?
Yeah, I'm currently paying Soucek and benching DCL.
Dead easy.
I'm gonna have to keep DCL if this double's confirmed now. Probably need to keep it, or I do a hokey cokey.
Oh dear, it's all going to be flip-flopping all over the shop. John McEwen, a regular that we've got here, Baker. This is the question that he asks every week, which is nice of him. What are the most hits you've ever taken in a particular game week? What's your highest ever single game week score? And then he throws his usual kind of different question at the end. Who was your favourite player growing up? So we'll start with most hits in a particular game week, Baker. What's the most hits you've ever taken, pal?
I think it's minus 12.
Okay.
However, I saw something from an old chat yesterday. In fact, one of our good friends, John. He's been on the pod a few times.
Yeah, I've seen him.
He spells Sterling with an I. Well, there is one I, but he puts two I's in it. So he spells Sterling Stirling.
Like Sterling is 10 minutes up the road for me, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Sterling. Yeah.
Exactly. And he has done for a number of times, and now he just goes with it. But I searched on WhatsApp just to see how long he'd done it for, and I found, I still had a historic chat from 2015. We had it.
Right.
Where this story's going is two lines above it. Someone says, well, Baker's taken a minus 28 this week. And I'm like, in 2015, apparently, I might have taken a minus 28. And I'm like,
that's got to be up there.
You'd think you'd remember it, though, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
You'd hope you would.
So, there's claims that I took a minus 28 in 2015 that came about yesterday, but I don't think it's true. I can't believe it's true. I've definitely done minus 12s.
Yeah.
But yeah,
a minus 20. I was at a minus 28 halfway through a bottle of vodka 2 weeks ago, but then I changed it to my wild card, so all was good in the end.
Maybe I forgot to press free hit or something. One of those bits.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
full amateur.
Can you remember your highest single game week score? Have you hit the ton?
I've hit. Yeah, I have hit a ton on a single game week. I don't think it was more. In my head, it was 109.
Okay.
I've got in my head it was 109.
Good stuff.
Whether I could confirm that it was a completely single game week or not.
Baker, who absolutely smashed that recent double? Was that CY? Or was that the other guy that you sometimes is involved on your pods as well? I think it was CY who said that was it CY or was it Shark? I can't remember. One of them had a really good double game week, but their bench boost was horrific.
I had a good double game week with I had a 127 point week in 19, but my bench.
Yeah, it was you. I remember.
Yeah, but my bench, I had Johnston, who only played one of the games, and I've been loyal to him, Charlie Taylor, who missed the first game and then came off with a Liverpool clean sheet like 10 minutes before he came off. He got his hamstring went again. And then I had Holding in Bamford, so I ended up with like 9 points or whatever it was on my bench boost, or 11 points. But like I say, I did want to just get rid of it. So yeah, I had a good week because I had Stones and DS. Yeah, and I brought Werner in for it. Great, 2 points.
Oh dear. And your age is with me, so you'll probably have similar players. Because I'm 41 as well, which I think you said you were. Favorite
42 now.
40. See, I'm 42 next month, so not much in it. Favorite player growing up?
Growing up, I mean, from a Spurs world, Sheringham, it's always been one of the Spurs ones. So Sheringham, Berbatov was just a phenomenon. The only man that ever makes a whole crowd gasp by taking the ball down on his chest is like nothing you could ever imagine. I felt really privileged to have season ticket during the Bale times. I thought we'd never seen anything better, but then Kane's just you come through to now and it's Kane. But you look back on certain things, I look back fondly when you watch like the Premiership years of the times of Shearer. You just think it just was so good, Shearer. It's just people don't really underestimate just how good a striker that man was. Yeah, magic.
No, decent.
And then I suppose probably the other one just was Fat Ronaldo. Really, he was
no, the Ronaldo. Because
the Ronaldo,
because don't understand when you and I or people our kind of age are talking about Ronaldo, we mean the Ronaldo.
Yeah, that time at Barcelona, and I used to, like Barcelona if you were looking for sort of a foreign team. He was just, like nothing you'd ever seen. Yeah. Just genuinely nothing anyone had ever seen as a player. It's just, yeah. And
then you show people like Buna and Matt a picture of him now playing poker, and they'd be like, "Nah, no way that guy was like number 9 in Brazil in that." I remember in FIFA.
I remember Fat Ronaldo.
Remember in FIFA,
you're not acting like we're 5 years old or something.
I was going to say, you're that young.
Remember in FIFA though, he didn't even want to get his name, so anytime he had the ball, it was just number 9. So that's all you got. Who else is asking questions? Oh, sorry, Baker.
I was going to say, it wasn't as good as like Adriano on PES though. That was the legend of Brazilian strikers.
Yeah. Oh, dearie. Infamous.
Your partner in crime in the chat.
What's that?
And you got Baker's partner in crime in the chat, and he's saying, "I was thinking about maybe going wildcard early and get Pope. So he might have a wildcard in there, Baker, on you."
Oh,
yeah. We kind of virtually know what's in front of us. If you look at those doubles, I mean, they are pretty good, but you wouldn't do wildcard this week.
No, not this week, but maybe next week with
next week
24.
Absolutely, yeah. I think wildcard in 24 is now definitely on.
That's what Anderson's saying there. He's posted his details and stuff like that. Really good community member of ours, good friend for the last few seasons. Double game week 24 and 25 for Burnley, Southampton, Leeds United, and Everton. For those that have joined late or are wondering, so there you go. Another good member of the community, Infamous FPL, he's just asking simply, Baker, do I start 2 City defenders against Liverpool or just the one? What do you think?
You start 2 all day long.
There you go.
My only caveat, I'm not sure on Cancelo this weekend. I think it'll be Zinchenko and Walker this weekend.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And I think there is a slight danger there if you're a Cancelo owner that they might protect that. He is a good option.
I'll just play Slabhead.
Yeah. He would be the one that I would consider not playing. I've seen some people where they've gone, I'll bench Diaz and play Cancelo. I'd be absolutely the opposite way around on that. If you are gonna, if you're in that position, I would play the centre backs this weekend over play in Cancelo.
No, I agree with you there. Finn in the chat, am I being too reactive I really fancy getting Son in for Salah for a -4. What do you guys think? So this is really, I suppose, not that Matt and I don't really know, but I suppose for you,
two experts there,
you and Buna, what would you be doing if that was if you were Finn? Is it too reactive to do a -4 to get Son in for Salah this game week, boys? What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
No.
What about
I
you?
would if you're captaining him. So if he's your best captain option, it's worthwhile doing, I think.
I'm sure he can find someone else, man. West Brom aren't exactly a run over. Like, let's see how Spurs do tonight. If Spurs look a lot better tonight, and Vinicius starts and Son really profits from that, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If you were looking at top captain options though this weekend, you really are looking at it. You're either going Bruno home to Everton,
Yep,
or you're going West Ham, or you're going Son. So it's probably for most people between Bruno, Antonio, or Son this weekend. If for some reason you haven't got Bruno, which seems madness, then I think I'd do it. If I had Bruno and didn't have Son, yeah, probably wouldn't bother.
cool. Thank you very much for that one. Buna, there's a question there from Nick the Legend. Your friend, he's actually got quite a few questions there.
Oh, right, that Nick. Gotcha. Yeah, sorry, no, I was looking at the chat. I was
sorry,
all
pal.
confused. So Nick asks, the way player form and pricing is at the moment, so he asked a few questions, so I'll read them all out to you and then we can kind of summarise. The way player form and pricing is at the moment, is it essential to own premium assets? He then goes on to say, you could have a midfield of Souček, Gundogan, Maddison, Grealish, Zaha and Barnes, obviously not all 6, Nick, because you can only have 5. Are we compelled to spend all of our budget? Or is it the bottom line that Salah is going to be the top goal scorer, him and Fernandes? Are we too critical and impatient with premium assets?
Bloody hell, you wrote an essay.
There is a bit more to it, but we'll read the other bit after.
Doesn't stop. So, how do we want to break this down? The way player form and pricing is at the moment, is it essential? Right, so we'll just start with that one first, Baker, I think. Is it essential to own premium assets?
Yes.
Cool. And if you, and I know we kind of answered this earlier, let's just say 3. So a defender, a midfielder, and a potentially, not even a forward, because there's a lot of them that aren't premium priced, I suppose. But who would you be owning? So you kind of mentioned Fernandes already.
Yeah, I just think if you look at these last 2 game weeks, and don't get me wrong, there's lots of brilliant options doing very well.
Yeah.
But if you didn't own Bruno this week, imagine it. Is all of us that haven't captained Bruno are on a red arrow. Pretty much, most people are, despite having a very, very good game week. If I didn't own Bruno this week, it would have been an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
That if I didn't own Salah last week, absolute disaster. And they are 162 points. Bruno top.
Yep.
148 second. Salah. 143 Kane third. Son fourth. Vardy's still up there despite not playing. When you start going, and there's a big gap, like 160, 148, 143. Souček, yes, position's brilliant, but it's 106 points. You can afford these premiums. We've all got too much money, really, in this world with it. So I don't think you need to scrimp on anything. The issue, and the reason why I think people are questioning it, is because they've captained them.
Yeah.
And because you've captained them, you then get just a bit more. So if I was twisting the question, it is, should we be opening our mind on who our captain is? I think that's a conversation that feels like you could play with. And that's where, your Antonio this weekend, probably the best captain choice.
Yep. I would agree with that, especially the way he's performed in the last 4 fixtures.
Well, I think you've definitely got to consider Bamford in that question.
Yeah.
But I think, what Baker's saying, I did have the captain's armband on Bruno at home to Everton, which is probably...
It's a solid pick.
Which is solid, but I think it's also the kind of, well, I say obvious in inverted commas, that's me not owning Son. I think if you've got Son, then it's a different story again.
Well, Bruno scored 17 points in the reverse fixture. Just remember that, and that was when Everton were really like, title contenders.
Yeah. But then you look at what Antonio's just plugged in the last 4 game weeks, and it's Fulham. So no, you're right. I think
Who haven't been bad recently.
they've been better, but it is still Fulham. But yeah.
Yeah, but then it was also just Brighton for Liverpool last night.
That's true.
You can't just say it was just X. You know what I mean? It doesn't work.
That's true. That's true.
We say it. Bruno, try and name me 3 defenders from Fulham.
From Fulham?
Yeah.
Fuck no, I don't give a shit about their defenders.
Like,
Areola.
you know what I mean? Like, they're still Fulham.
Yeah.
Anthony Robinson.
I quite like it. If it's Antoine, but
Just remember, Bruno's sitting
Are you
there.
sure?
Yeah.
Bruno's sitting
Alright,
there.
fucking hell, not you should correct me. Fucking hell, fair play.
Google is your friend, Bruno, as he's sitting typing away in the background. Fulham defenders.
It's definitely Anthony, mate. What are you talking about?
The last bit of Nick the Legend's questioning was regarding this game week. Is Gundogan a set and forget until or if there's any signs of his minutes starting to drop off? Or simply, who would you have? Gundogan, Souček, or someone else? So again, he's kind of split his cell into about another 3 questions.
He's a brilliant option. He's right in the areas as well, isn't he? He's always there.
He's everywhere last night. I watched him closely because I benched him yesterday.
Yeah,
so
you did watch him closely.
What I would say was he was tired yesterday. There was a lot of times where he was hands on his knees, but the reason why is because he was everywhere. The assist he played in from the right. There was a number of times where I noticed that he's pulling out to the left a lot more, and then Sterling was coming inside. So what does seem like now Jesus is back in the team, and Jesus suddenly is taking up more central positions, is he does seem to be taking up a slightly different position. So do I think he'll continue to be like 7 goals in 9 games? No, I don't think necessarily that is it. But I do think that he will. I do still think he gets in there. I can't remember. Well, he had one decent shot, which went just over the bar, but he's just in there, and he's the penalty taker for them.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Kind of got the feeling from this week that there's almost like I feel like our refs are inept and the VAR's no better. And I feel like we just were like penalty everywhere, and then suddenly there were no penalties. Last game week was the first game week I remember in ages. There was not a single penalty, so it almost doesn't surprise me that suddenly, there's been a couple. Like, I don't think the Bednarek sending off happens if the Louise one doesn't. It's almost like they back their mates up. Oh, we've sent someone off for that, so we better send someone else off for it as well, just try and show consistency. It just seemed really poor to me, a lot of it. But I almost get this feeling like, are we suddenly going to see a glut of penalties suddenly come out again?
Well, it's interesting you say that, and I know, Matthew, this is definitely something that we'll be talking about on Sunday in a bit more detail when we cover the paper talk. But just on what Baker's just said, I don't know if you want to mention the actual topic that we're kind of going to delve into a bit more, because it's certainly a headline in itself.
Oh, the corruption.
Yeah.
I thought that at the basic, there was a former ref that's come out and said pretty much like if there's a panel to go forth with it, then a lot of the top refs that are still reffing now would be put on the bench. Like pretty much like loads. Like they've all been done for corruption. From what he's saying, they could be done. We'll go into a lot more detail in it on Sunday.
So that's just a snippet, Baker, of what we're going to kind of delve into on Sunday. So yeah, it kind of certainly makes you think.
It leaves such a bitter taste in your mouth, doesn't it? Though it leaves. It's easy to say it leaves a bitter taste when it costs you points. It's like so that Bruno one the other night, where he gets the penalty for it. But it's just the whole thing seems wrong. And actually, what happens is now we've got VAR is it makes it worse. You know, I think we were talking just before we came on here, but Bednarek gets his. How can you ever have something now where there's an appeal system and it gets upheld? You know, so it's happened in game. They've then gone. There's people watching it. They've said, "Come look at it." Someone comes and looks at it. They stick with it. Then a couple of days later, they say, "Don't worry about that red card." And it's like, but Mike Dean will still be out reffing this weekend.
Yes, and that's
not right.
No.
That's not right. They should face much stronger things for their decisions.
No,
and we just don't see it. You know, is the VAR for the Matty Cash handball? You know, type
was ridiculous. That was.
Get them out. Even the linesman for the Ings goal, they're only supposed to put their flag up if it's obvious. You can't tell me it's obvious when it takes, you know, you're pushing it against the size of his arse.
Yes, exactly. And that's what Badman's come in and said there. Jesus not getting that pen was corrupt. And Matt, you were spitting feathers at that during that Arsenal game. And I know Boona and I were winding you up, but you were proper spitting feathers about that sending off.
I'd go back if there's something good to do. I'd go back and watch AFTV because there's a bit when he's like, "I'm still angry," and it was this clip someone's put on Twitter. People on Twitter probably would find it, and it was like 4 pictures. Is like only one of these was a red card, and it's literally like Bruno, like pretty much kicking like Xhaka up the arse, Mane elbowing Teeny in the face, someone else absolutely annihilated Saka. And none of them were given any yellows or reds, and then that little knee flick by Luis was a red card. And it's just so ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's a crazy world we live in.
Wrong, mate.
I think the last one here that we've got, Boona, is from CY, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah. Who's going to win our head-to-head, and who's going to top the overall?
I like this one. I like this question.
I'll top the overall. I'm fine with that, but I don't.
See why? Did you expect him to say anything else? Honestly,
I don't think I can beat him on the head-to-heads because I'm so dull that I'll literally, consistently. My rank very rarely fluctuates. I kind of sit around where I am. I gradually get better over a course of a season and grind my way to a decent rank. Whereas CY will be like game week rank of 100k this week, and it'll be game week rank of 3 million next week and 6 million the week after. It can happen, but it's he's going to chance his way there. Is Captain Cancelo this week, you get away with it when Salah doesn't turn up.
He's totally agreeing with you there in the chat as well. I'll catch him in the OR too, he's saying, and then he just agrees with you. He's just sitting there nodding away in the background.
Who knows, but in a way, look, I'm envious of it. I'd rather be in the position where I win the head-to-head because it definitely sounds like you have more fun, but it's just the way you play the natural way, and I'm pleased that what I think when we started this pod, probably the first 10, 15 game weeks, I feel like maybe his natural style was a bit hampered and therefore it didn't really play for him. I feel what I've been seeing from him the last few weeks is he plays very aggressive in his ways, and I think long be it continue, it's good for our pod. So I'm the nice one. He would not say the same if he was it.
I think that's the thing. Boona of late has been like yourself, I suppose, a bit more relaxed, but I didn't want to say dullard, but a bit more like thinking about his decisions a bit better,
sensible.
More sensible. Because up until that point, the three of us were just like fucking headless chickens. We do know what we're doing, but we just like to have a bit of fun with it as well.
Yeah.
But then, as I was saying earlier, when you speak to like the world number 1, the world number 3 and 8, and they're all basically hardly taking any hits, it's very methodical, and they'll look at certain stats. They don't go all over stats. And Interestingly, the podcast with the world number 1, that'll go out tomorrow. We're aiming to get it out tomorrow night. And honestly, even when you hear it, you'll think, Christ, the guy's just so laid back. You wouldn't think he was at the top of the world in FPL.
It was more, from when I was on there, he was more chilled out than the number 3 and the number 8.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's crazy. But that's obviously just the way he is. This is another one, by the way, and I'm really sorry about this, Baker, but it's another podcast that's went on like way more than longer than what Boona probably told you. So apologies, but thank you, because, you know, it's just naturally drifted into this length.
Yeah, I told him it was going to be half an hour, guys. What the fuck, honestly?
Bloody hell, is it 20 to 7?
It is 20 to 7.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
We've got the Almighty in the chat, aka the real poet, saying, life is just a bowl of cherries, don't take it serious, it's mysterious. Life is just a bowl of cherries, so live and laugh and love a laugh and love.
Okay, now rather you than me reading that out.
Can I have some of those cherries, please?
And then as CY saying there, I'll take the red arrow. I have more fun captaining Cancelo than pissing about on Bruno and Salah. 3 defender captains in 4 game weeks, 62 points from those. Take that and smoke it. So yeah, and I think that's it. And that's the way, you know, I've listened to a good few of your podcasts as well. And that's why I knew this was going to be a good podcast, because the way yous are, and I think, I hope everyone thinks the way us 3 are, it is just relaxed and chilled out and just, you know, take the piss out of each other and just enjoy the game that it is, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
And we hope to get you back on when we kick your ass in the North London Derby, part 2.
Oh, here we go. See,
This guy's so delusional, man. Get out of it. You're shit. You're shit. You're Banner FC. You're shocking.
Yeah, exactly. As CY's saying there, Wiz says it as well. Hashtag play your own game. It's probably the overarching message, and that, you're spot on with that. Spot on with that. Boona, Matt, is there anything else you want to ask young Baker? And then I think we'll just wrap things up at that, yeah?
What's the score going to be tonight, Baker?
Oh, here we go.
3-0.
Fuck yeah,
I'm a horrendous optimist. Like,
yeah, I'm saying 1-1 with a massive amount of me being optimist here. To be honest, I can't see this being anywhere near 3-0. But I hope you're right, mate.
Horrendous optimist. Normally every week people ask what the score, I go like 8-0 is my common number. Which, you know, if we're playing Southampton every week, you got a chance. But you know. 3-0.
Well, that's what Man United did the other night there. They just thought, look, there's 9 players on the park, we'll just get as many goals as there is players in your team, so you done well with that one. Matthew, is there anything from yourself?
No, not from myself, but I would like to say to the chat, please go check these guys out. They're just above the average podcast. They are Spurs fans, but don't put it against them. Don't hold it against them being Spurs fans. They're a good couple of guys. Please go.
Baker, before I wrap things up, and I know Matt's just done you a bit of a like sell yourself anyway. However, for yourself, if for some strange reason the chat or those listening back have no idea where to find you, how to interact with you, etc., please take the floor and plug away.
So I mean, I don't normally do the plug bit, you see. I leave this to CY because we forget it. I mean, this will show the amateurs that we are. When we did our first one, we put it out, and then CY realised that he'd said my Twitter handle wrong, the pod one wrong, and his. So mine is Twitter is Baker FPL 343. And if you want to do the pod is, like I say, it's just above the average FPL, all the platforms, and the Twitter account is Above Average FPL.
Perfecto. Thank you very much for that. Is there anything else you want to greet the chat with, or any hints or tips or anything like that?
Just a pleasure, mate. It's been a pleasure to be here. Enjoyed it.
Pleasure's all up, mate.
No, as I say, thank you very much for joining us. And chat, for those old and new, hope you've enjoyed yourself this evening, just listening in and sometimes even interacting with us as well in the chat. It's much appreciated. You've seen where you can get yourself involved with us over on the old Twitter sphere, or even if it's live within the Discord, it's 24/7, and it's pretty ruthless in there as well, to be honest. But if you haven't already, please do give us a like on the podcast, assuming that you liked it. If you didn't, then just give it a thumbs down, whatever you want to do. But please subscribe if you haven't already. That FPL Lounge, just hit the sub button and then you'll become a VIP. We prefer to call you VIPs than subs. And that would be much appreciated. So on behalf of us, Una, Matt, Baker, enjoy yourself, keep yourself safe, and we'll be back Sunday, but we'll also be uploading that podcast with the world number 1 tomorrow night. So if you've liked and subscribed, just make sure your bell note, what is it? Polish that bell or whatever it is.
Polish the bell.
Yeah, polish your bell, ding dong the bell, and you'll see when it goes live. But apart from that, take good care of yourself, folks. And we'll catch you all soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Better sounds no one's ever heard. I wish I had a better voice to sing some better words. I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang. I was told